This is the first presentation for Chapter 3. I thought it would be a good time to just start out with a couple of Greek timelines before we start talking about these cultural contributions. It's important for this class to really keep things in perspective as far as what historical events are happening and what sort of significant cultural contributions are being made at the same time. They interact with one another. And that's important to see, and those are the types of questions and the type of analytical thinking and cause and effect relationships that you're going to have to start to put together in your essays. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Timeline of the Greeks. 2000 BC, you get the Minoans, the Cretans first in the region. You then get the Mycenaeans that are going to come into the region. About 1250 BC, during this period of Mycenaeans, you're going to get the Trojan Wars of Homer. 1100 BC, you're going to get the collapse of the Mycenaeans, and then this Dark Age is going to descend upon most of the Greek city-states. Now, after the Dark Ages, we get the Olympics. We start to see Greeks colonizing throughout the Mediterranean due to overpopulation, and the developments of the Athenian polis and the implementation of the Phoenician alphabet to once again spread these ideas. And of course, you get the spread of ideas like the Homeric epics. Tyrannical reformers begin about 600 BC, and philosophy is also going to be born in this same time frame. So as soon as we start to see regular people get more of a say in government, once the old kings are broken down, the old aristocracy, the rich landowning aristocrats are breaking down, we start to see the development of philosophy, which is where we're going to start our focus of Greek cultural contributions, because it is just so important. Okay, I had to fix something there. Sorry about that. There was something that didn't belong in this timeline there. I edit and copied and edit pasted from another timeline that I'm going to use later on in the year. Anyway, 508 BC, we get the birth of Athenian democracy. We get your democratic reforming. And then not soon after that, not soon after Cleisthenes Democratia, the Council of 500, we get the Persian Wars. After the Persian Wars, of course, you have the Age of Pericles, and within that Age of Pericles, you get the birth of Greek drama, which is still studied and still looked at today. You get basically two types of plays. You get drama, and then later on we're also going to see the development of comedy as well. Alright, let's continue on. That first one was sort of where we were with Chapter 2. Adding a few things that we're going to talk about here as far as Greek cultural contributions are concerned. But now we got to figure out where we're going. 469 BC, Socrates of Athens is born. He teaches until his death in 399 BC. You then get Herodotus. He's writing the history of the Persian Wars. You get the life of Plato, who's going to write one of the most influential works in ever, the Republic. After him, you get the life of Aristotle. It's your big three of as far as Greek philosophers are concerned: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. He's going to be a philosopher, he's going to be a scientist, he's going to be highly influential on, along with Plato and Socrates, the development of democracy, everything from governments of Europe to theology and the scientific method as well. So he's going to tutor Alexander. We then get the rise, after the Peloponnesian conflict, the rise of Philip II of Macedon, who's going to take over Greece, and then his son, Alexander, going to forge the largest empire in the world. His empire collapses. We get an age of Hellenism, and you get the development of two philosophies later on. You get the Stoics, founded by Zeno, and then later your Epicurean philosophy of Athens as well. So let's talk about your early Greek philosophy. The inspiration for philosophical thought in Greece. Why things are the way they are. They're no longer satisfied with the current explanations. Now, If you think back, what are those current explanations? Well, it's the Greek mythology. It's the classic pattern that we saw when we first started looking at Mesopotamia. The idea that there are gods, many different gods in this polytheistic society that in many cases have something attached to them, whether it's Athena as the goddess of wisdom and poetry, whether it's Horus from Egypt as a sun god, or whether it's Zeus as the king of the gods, or whatever. Poseidon, god of the sea, excuse me. They're no longer satisfied with those explanations. They're seeing a changing world around them. They're seeing the development of the polis, which is really built for argument and debate. Remember, the importance of the Acropolis is not just a term to know so that you can answer it on a test. You need to be able to build an argument for Greek philosophy built around the fact that the polis was important. It's the fact that these people are intermingling. There is debate going on. There is discussion involved. And that is key to the development of philosophical thought. Why things are the way they are is because you have a variety of differing viewpoints. Also, particularly with Athens. Remember, Athens is a huge trade center. As a result of this, you have a variety of people from a variety of city-states, of backgrounds, coming into this area and debating. Okay? They also saw it as a means to analyze changes and upheaval. Think of the backdrop for many of these guys. Excuse me. It's war. It's changes. It's a changing political system. It's the rise of various tyrannical reformers. It's the erosion of the traditional aristocracy. So it's all these things that are going to lead to Greek philosophical thought, which will have a profound impact for thousands of years on the development of Western civilization. Now, everybody focuses on Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. We're going to in class as well. But we need to talk about the foundations of philosophical thought. You need to understand how the inspiration and then the beginnings are going to influence your later, more well-known philosophy. So in Ionia, Miletus, you have the beginnings of what becomes known as Greek philosophy. Now, they're in close proximity to the ideas of the East, Persia and beyond. Remember, Persia is a huge empire, but it's not just, oh, well, they're influenced by the Persians. Think of who is in the Persian Empire. You have a vast amount of different people, different ideas, different cultures, all mishmashed together. It's from Egypt, Jordan River Valley with Hebrews. You have Zoroastrianism by the Iranians. You have You have ideas of Hinduism coming from as far away as the Indus River Valley, for which Persia is right there. Okay? Now, some of the early ones from Miletus that you need to know are Thales, and he's described in your reading as well. His idea that water exists in all these different states, that pretty much everything is made of water. Because water can change solid, liquid, gas, it can present itself in a variety of ways that everything, the basic building block, essentially, for all matter is water. Now, you have another philosopher, Anaximander of Miletus. He refers to an infinite body of matter that he refers to as the boundless. This idea even of an infinite space and time. It's a precursor to your early elements. You look at a periodic table, it's influenced by Anaximander. A well-known figure in early Greek philosophical thought. He's not just a philosopher, he's seen more as a scientist, but he's influential as far as the development of Greek philosophy is concerned. Pythagoras. Now, you probably know from geometry class your Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, more measuring, the lines of a triangle. But he develops so much more than just that one little theorem. He stresses and he writes in great detail of the importance of mathematics in all matter. He if you saw the movie Prometheus over the summer, some say that that was Pythagoras' idea of these harmonic intervals, almost as a basis for religion as far as how the universe begins. That there's some sort of code within ourselves. Some say that he is an early precursor to the ideas of genetics, that we can look at our DNA and see who we are based on that DNA, or what sort of animals we are based on that DNA. There's also, it's a scientific theory that's out there right now, string theory. If you watch The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon is working on string theory right now. The idea that, and it goes back to the idea of harmonic intervals, that basically all matter is essentially the same. You can almost think of it like a string, and depending on how it's struck or where it's struck, you get a different result. Really challenging how we look at ourselves and how we are created, this idea of string theory. Some other early Greek philosophers that we need to worry about. The atomic theory, this idea that there is a building block of matter, for which we are all built out of, is pretty old. You have the atomic theory of Leucippus and Democritus. They both come to the same conclusion, that there has to be this sort of building block of matter that is generally referred to as atoms. They see death not as this mythical crossing of a river to the underworld, but they see it as a redistribution of these atoms. That's not to say that these guys were atheists or they were against the Greek mythology. They often talked about the Greek mythology with their more scientific theories. But what we're starting to see is we're starting to get people try to figure out how it's done, whether it's a god behind it or not. And in most cases, like I said, they think God is behind it, or gods, I should say, is behind it. They see it as, I can figure it out. Throughout all this upheaval, the social upheaval, I can figure out the world. And that's really what Greek philosophy is all about. It's figuring out the world around us and how we fit in it. Now, you have a group of Greek philosophers that are going to be very influential, and are really going to trigger Socrates and really get him upset at this group. The Sophists. Now, the Sophists are going to focus on humans and their lives, the here and now, okay, and how we live, almost as a sociologist would. They are arguing human designs are inferior to nature's. The rule of nature, kill or be killed, is really what they are after. Ideas of democracy, of fair play, is not that important. Okay? You should pursue your own interests. That's the goal. Now, why they're saying this, people argue their audience is the nobility. It is the rich landowning aristocrats that during this time period, oftentimes they are losing some of their power. They are basically going there, that are paid, okay, to go there, give speeches, teach these nobility to say, you should be able to do whatever you want. So, these early philosophers will have a profound impact on how Greece, and particularly the Athenians, will develop their ideas of philosophy, particularly during the Persian Wars, the Golden Age, and the Peloponnesian conflict, and afterwards. Okay? So that's where we'll pick it up in the next one with our Greek philosophers and our Greek cultural contributions. Thanks for listening. See you next time.